Time for some finance news now. And financial stress nearly destroyed the family of our next guest, but it also inspired him to study to become a better money manager. And it's resulted in a new book to try to make sure no one has to go through the money worries James Fitzgerald's family did. Bulletproof Investing is the name of the book. And James joins us now from Brisbane. Good morning, James.
Good morning, Madeline. Thanks for having me.
Great to have you on. So look, just tell us a little bit about what happened in your family, because your dad was not a good money manager and that really impacted you and the rest of your family.
Yes, I started writing Bulletproof Investing about a year ago, but the book started in my subconscious about 12 months before that. It was March 2019, 4 a.m. in the morning. I was staying with my dad and I get a knock on the door from the police to say, Dad's been hit by a train and he's been killed. And it absolutely flattened me. And look, ultimately it was an accident. What didn't help the situation though, is that for the last 30 years of Dad's life, he had terrible anxiety about money to the point where he took 2 sleeping tablets every night just to get to sleep.
It's probably a situation that lots of people worrying can relate to a greater or a lesser extent, that staying up at night worrying about money. So you've written this book, Bulletproof Investing. We've got a couple of tips that you have about how to invest to ensure financial security. It's not about being rich necessarily, it's about being financially secure. So we can bring up those tips now. What would you say to people who are looking at this?
Correct, you're 100% right. I'm not saying that everyone should want to be rich. What I'm strongly endorsing is the mental freedom that comes from being secure and confident with your money. So the first part of the book sets out a bunch of examples and real life stories that people will be able to relate to. And it's about establishing control. There's a few tips in there, but the main one being you control where you spend your money. Might not feel like it at times, but there's little ways that you can wrestle back that control. And then the second part of it is, unfortunately, you can't save yourself to being financially independent, so to speak. So it's about investing and doing it in a way where you can't eliminate risk, you just got to manage it. And the big one is cash flow. They're the sort of the main takeaways.
Yeah, and when it does come to investing, I know that you're a big advocate of property investing, but Australia is we're one of the biggest nations of property investors in the world. It's quite a saturated and tight market out there. How do you actually make sure that if you are going to invest in property, that you do so in a way that makes you stand out from the crowd?
First of all, there's many ways to invest. I happen to do it through property. So I use a lot of the examples of myself and therefore there's some property examples in there. When it comes to any investment, including property, it's about protecting your cash flow. That's the one that can cause people anxiety, but also the one that can bring people unstuck. So it's really important you have a good plan to manage your cash flow. If you can get that bedded down, then you'll be fairly anxiety-free, so to speak, when it comes to your money.
And just finally, James, I know that you're really worried about the state of financial literacy for not just kids, but for everyone. A lot of our financial education comes from our parents. You didn't really get that from your dad. For parents who are watching this, what would you say to them about how they should talk to their kids about money?
Have a conversation. The book, I hope, would be a good way to open that conversation and dialogue for people. I think ultimately what is also important is that we start to try and encourage the schools to teach financial literacy. Half of the proceeds of this book will go to the Financial Basics Foundation, which is trying to really establish those school-oriented curriculum programs, because prevention is the best medicine, so to speak. But absolutely, if parents can do whatever they can to try and have that conversation, I would encourage that wholeheartedly.
That's good advice, and great to hear some of the profits are going towards that foundation. James Fitzgerald, author of Bulletproof Investing, thanks for speaking to us today.
Thanks for having me.